I'll tell you in a second. It's a little a hot mess. So I believe that we have a group of students who are joining us remotely, and then we have a group of students who are here in the class. And that's not what we would normally do. I'm going to go into all of the other details, but before I get into that, I just want to explain how we ended up with this situation. And in addition to that, I want to check that everyone who's in the class is okay if I just repeat what you say here from the front so that they hear it who are joining us remotely. No one's like, oh, I don't want to be involved if someone's watching us online. It's only your classmates. Okay, good. So if you are here either online or in person looking for a BIO201 class, so Human Anatomy and Physiology 1, you're at the right place. I think some of you, or many of you, probably all of you, have had to take some other classes at CAC before taking this class because we have prerequisites that are needed. Usually it's BIO 181 or BIO 156, I think. Things like that, that you need to have some sort of a basic understanding of biology, or you might have studied it elsewhere. And for anyone who's joining us online, if you cannot hear me, just unmute yourself and shout out. I'm wearing a mask, so that might play a role as well. But anyways, you might have seen that we've been kind of struggling with the whole COVID thing. At one point, we were fully online. At one point, we were like, oh, let's return to the classes. And Pinal County has been kind of a weird. Things have been going up. Things have been going down. I come from Europe, so I spend a lot of time there and following what's happening there. And cases are there going up again. So for the first 2 weeks of this semester, college made a decision that you have a choice that you can join in person or you can join remote. That is usually, or that is up to your instructor. And I was like, oh, I don't know. If someone wants to be online, I will never tell you that you have to come to the class and you will fail otherwise. But at the same time, I know that many of us are students who learn better by being there and doing stuff with hands and just eager to get back to the campus. So I tried for the first 2 weeks to offer this class, both remotely and in person. And like, this is literally the first time I've ever been in this classroom. So that's why I was setting it up. If it took a couple of minutes longer, I don't think it will take in the future. But just to give you an idea how we ended up here. So this is not ideal. We're probably not gonna stay online, but I wanna give a chance for anyone who has seen that notice going out from the college that we are meeting remotely to be able to join us remotely. Of course, it changes things a little bit. I planned everything that we're going to be in person. So we're going to have to do some juggling and navigating. And for that reason, I think that as the semester moves onwards, we're all just going to return to the class. But having said that, if at any point you feel unsafe, you feel that you might have been exposed, someone around you might have been exposed, and you need to be gone, I will always make arrangements that you can join us remotely. Good? Everyone's still with me? Yes. What I plan to do today, I'm going to be honest, I highly doubt that it's going to take our entire scheduled class time. I think we're scheduled up till 4:15. But I want to take some time that we get started. And we go through 3 things. We go through some practicalities, such as how this course works and how your grade is done and things like that. And then we will have a look at 2 compulsory things that I'm required to tell you, such as about labs and so on, lab safety and so on. I'm sure that you've heard those before, but I have to say it so I know that you've heard it. And the last part is really, if you look at the weekly schedule. And if you are joining us online, you will not have the handout of the weekly schedule, but you will find it on Blackboard. It's already uploaded there, and I will show in a moment how to find it on Blackboard. But you'll notice that I had already planned that we're going to spend this week going through review of very basic concepts from previous classes you've taken, but concepts that you really, really need to know to do well in this class. So those were the 3 things that I wanted to go through. But before I jump into those, I just wanted to check, is there anyone who's like, I have no idea what's going on, where we're at, what's going on, big questions, or something that I have completely overlooked? I'm going to be honest, there's a very good chance that I've overlooked something. So if something doesn't make sense, let me know, ask me, and we will figure it out. And feel free to ask at any time. And those of you who are joining us remotely, I have my screen. So I'm operating like 2 computers. I'm operating a laptop, which is how the people remotely are joining, but also a screen at the classroom. They're showing the same thing. But when I have the laptop on, I will not be able to see if you send something to the chat. So if you have something that you wanted me to know, just unmute yourself and shout out. Or write to the chat and ask one of your friends to speak on your behalf if you feel uncomfortable. So we're good with all that? Yes. So I guess that the biggest things that students always are curious is that, how much do I need to be here and what do I need to do to get a good grade? So we'll focus on those, but there's a couple of other things that I do want to mention as well. So CAC is an organization where we have many different kinds of students from many different backgrounds. Some students are using financial aid, some, and all of this that we discuss in the class, by the way, and all that you will see online is being recorded. So I'll make this recording available after the class. But anyways, where I was going to go is that some of our students use financial aid, some don't. And for some students who use especially the financial aid, the attendance is really important. Because if you don't attend to the classes, you don't qualify for financial aid, and so on and so on. So I'm just following what I'm being told to do to make sure that everyone's taken care of. But if for some reason you feel like, well, this doesn't really apply to me, I don't really care, that's fine by me. I like all of you being part of the class, and I want all of to be part of the class, but at the same time, I understand that things happen. So I'm not going to lose sleep if you're not able to attend, but I encourage if that's something that you know will affect your status in financial aid or other things. We will be attending in person. The 2 first weeks is the only exception, which is the online. And then we have a bunch of assignments. Some of them are online. Some of them are here in the class. Things that we have in the class are typically spot tests and lecture tests, and final exam. I have some assignments that I built as part of this course, also to online setting, to our Blackboard. And those of you who are joining us online, I'm sure that you found Blackboard. Anyone in the class who doesn't know what Blackboard is or how to use it? You're all good. Yes. So that's what we use in this institution. And if you ever get stuck that I go on about something that you don't know what I'm talking about, let me know. I teach in quite a few different institutions. CAC is my main job. This is where I'm at. Not on this campus, but at CAC. But I realize that there's different learning management systems and so on. But what I was saying about the attendance is that you get an attendance for showing up in the class, whether it's remotely or whether it's in person. But you also might be getting attendance for completing activities. There are some days that I know, it's not going to be many of them, but that I know that I won't be able to be here in person. And if I'm not going to be able to be here in person, I think it would be silly of me to ask you guys to come and hang out. So then there's something online that you do. Usually it's very simple. And that's how we meet the attendance requirement for that day. But those are like only a couple of days during the course. Other than that, doing all of the assignments, you can't really do certain assignments without being present, whether it's being present in the classroom or if you have a good reason being present virtually. But I need all of us to do certain spot tests, certain exams, and so on. So that's all I can think of to say about that. And that brings us to the thing that I normally forget, so that's why I have it here. So what I'd ask you to do, if you are in the classroom, I passed a sheet where you just write your name, so I know that you were here. And if you're online, please write your name to the chat and just send that message. That way I make sure that everyone who was here has been in attendance. I prefer that you write the name that we have in our system, but also if you have a nickname that you want to be called with, please write that as well, because I will probably otherwise just go from the whatever I have on the records, and I don't want to do that. I want to address you with the name that you want to be addressed with. So we have the sign-in sheet going around in the classroom, and if you're online, make sure that you type your name to the chat, so I know to mark having been in attendance today. You can just leave it on the table. I'll come. Thank you. And if you're ever late, or if you have to leave early, I'm totally fine with that. I'd rather that you get here safe, or you join us remotely safe, than you drive like crazy, or you're driving and attending to the session or something. I really have done this for a long time, so I will be able to bring you up to speed. So I just want you to be safe. That's the biggest goal for me for this semester. So having said all that, I think I already talked about the implications that some students who receive the federal financial aid, you need to be in attendance. I believe we have athletes who need attendance, people who are here on a student visa, and things like that. So it's really, really important that I get this right. And by I get this right, I really mean that I need your help to do that. So for the first week, if you look at the syllabus, and again, if you're online, you will see the syllabus in a bit, but if you, and I've kind of included a little snippet from the syllabus, but if you look at the syllabus on the, I'm trying to look, I think it's on the second page. On the second page, on the left-hand side column, it says that the first week, show, no show week, you need to attend to every session that we have. Well, we only have 2 sessions, but you need to attend to both, because otherwise, I don't know who does it. I enter the attendance to a system, someone does something with it, and if you've not been in attendance, they drop you from the class. If they drop you from the class, you just speak to me and I can add you back. But someone will do something if you're not attending. You'll also notice from the schedule that I added an activity for the Wednesday, and I'll explain about it in a bit, but that's just kind of like a backup option. If you missed one or another day, you still get an attendance by completing that. But if you attend them both, I would still like you to complete that activity for the Wednesday, because that allows me to get to know you a little bit. I don't do, I know some instructors do. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've done it in many different ways, but I don't do points for just having been present, because I think it's silly. We're all grown-ups. You know if you need to be present, if you don't. You also probably know that if you're not present and you just show up to the exam, you probably need to have done a lot of studying to do well. But I'm not going to be like putting points just for being around. So I have a chance of adjusting that. If things look like everything goes to the south, then I will change it. But I assume that we're all here to do a job and get it done. So now I've spoken a little bit about some of the most urgent practical things, and there's few other practical things that I really need to do to speak with you, but I kind of feel it's weird that I just jumped in and I started talking. We need to do this, 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 this. I never even introduced myself. So what I'd like to do I'd like to take a breather, but I'd also like to tell you a little bit, who is this guy who you're going to be having to spend time with this semester if you want to do this course. And it's not really because I think that I'm that amazing or spectacular, but I think it's fair, because I'd be like, okay, what is he and what's going on? But again, if at any point something that I say makes no sense, if you have questions, if you just want to have a comment, don't wait till the end. You can speak at any time. I had a class, I used to teach a 4-hour-long class, not in this school. And after the first class, after 4 hours, someone said, I understood nothing because of your accent. I was like, it's a little late. So please let me know. So my name is Sam Rauhalami. I use Sam. It's easier for everyone. I think 3 letters is manageable. But if you look at my email address, it's a long combination of random letters. And that's because I was born and raised in Northern Europe, at Blackboard, like where they have reindeers and northern lights, all that good stuff. But every single word in English looks like my name looks to you. So if I make no sense, ask me, and I'll find different words to explain it. But I'm really easygoing with the names. Don't worry, just call me with whatever. As long as it's not too insulting, I will respond, and I will help you. The best way to get hold of me, and we'll talk about that a little bit, is going to be the Blackboard messaging system. So if you're already on Blackboard, there's a way to contact me there. And few students have already done that. If you're in the class, we'll have a look at that in a second, how to do it. But you can always email me as well. I'm better with Blackboard just because I get so many emails. I get about 100 emails a day. I do a lot of other things for this college. And sometimes things just slide through. So I'm usually better if you message me on Blackboard, but if I don't respond, resend the message. I'm not ignoring you. There's just a lot going on. And like I mentioned, I work for CAC full-time, but I don't have office in this campus. This is not where I'm formally based, but I will come here every day that we're meeting. And I will be here before the class and after the class. I most likely will be at that adjunct faculty area that's like when you enter this room and walk to the hallway where you entered and go to the right. But I will be around, but it doesn't mean that you have to meet me during that time, before or after class. That's just usually easy for people who show up. But you can drop me a message and I will make time to meet you, whether it's remotely or whether it's whatever format. I'll make it happen. Any questions about how to get hold of me? Okay, this went like totally unrehearsed. I was like, I'm going to tell you about me, and then I told you to get hold of me. This is really what I do or did for a living. I don't really do this so much anymore. This is how I made a living for about 10 years. So what my real job, other than teaching, is to do cardiac magnetic resonance imaging. So I look at hearts of humans who are still alive, and I look at them in a living person using an MRI machine. And my job really is to find out, usually people who have had some sort of an injury to their heart, that A, that happened, B, is it getting worse, and C, what can we do about it? So I have provided you a bunch of pictures just to kind of explain what it is I do. Medical research is the field that I focus on. And if you look at the right bottom picture, you see this circle, and next to it, there's another circle that's kind of a half moon shaped. That's a picture of a heart. We're seeing left ventricle, and I'm not going to test you on this, so please don't worry. You see left ventricle that has a thicker wall, and right ventricle that has a thinner wall. And I was supposed to put like 2 projectors on in this class, and I messed it up. So now we only have 1. I will figure it out for the next time. But if you're not seeing, I'm not going to quiz you on this. But anyways, those are the pictures that we normally see when we look at the heart in a human being with MRI. Heart is kind of a weird organ. It's not located following any exact planes in the human body. It's kind of in a weird angle. So we take slices with imaging technique like in that weird angle to get full rounded circles. And it's really the left ventricle that we're interested because that's the thickest and strongest part of the heart. That's what pumps the blood in your body. So if you look really carefully of this heart, you might see that there's something weird going on there. So we would have lungs around it. You can see some capillary muscles. But at the bottom, like around where the clock would point to 6 o'clock, you will see this lighter area, right? Or you're like, I don't know. You can see it, yeah. This lighter, brighter area. And that's what we can do with MRI. We can see that anything that goes up in this heart muscle wall right is dead tissue. It's tissue that's dead. It's not going to come back alive, and that's it. So this individual who I have pictures from here has had a heart attack. The heart muscle has been strained from getting blood, and that part of the heart died. So my salary used to be paid by insurance companies, and they're always like asking good questions. That okay, that's dead, but what will happen? What will happen if we don't treat this person? And what will happen if we treat them, and how should we treat them? So that's what my job really is. And if you look at those two pictures at the very top, you'll notice that there is a bright area approximately at the same place where the dead tissue is, but it's larger. That's because with some magic of computing, some magic of knowing your anatomy and physiology, we're actually able to predict how much of that muscle wall will die. And that's a prediction of that if we do nothing. So we want to choose whether it's worth the risk of doing an invasive surgery to a patient and treat them, or just let it be as it is. So that's my real job, and that's how I made a living for quite a few years. And then I came to America, and now I do this. Any questions?
Well, it's probably off topic, but if there's a piece of dead flesh or anything on our heart, would you have to get it? Otherwise, it rots and just what necrotic.
Very good question. I'm just going to repeat it here so you don't think that I'm just weird repeating it, so that those who are online. So there was a question that, okay, if there's something that's dead in you, especially like heart muscle, and clearly the heart muscle is needed. If you don't have heart muscle, blood doesn't get pumped. But should we be worried that if you leave that little dead piece there, will it start spreading, rotting, doing weird stuff, and causing issues further along? It could, but in this case, probably not. But it could in some other cases. If it was part of intestines and, for example, material that should pass through that now escapes from there, so, then we would have a problem. That's like, for example, appendix that bursts is a big problem because now things are going where they shouldn't and exactly what you're thinking is happening. But with the heart, I have had patients who have had about half of their heart muscle dead. So half of the heart is dead. They're still alive, but they can't do a heck of a lot. They're not going to be running, but you can still live. So human body is amazing about recovering. And most patients that I get are telling me that, oh, I had some heartburn, some digestive issues. And I'm like, no, you had a heart attack. I'm not trying to creep any of you out. It does happen, but that's a really good question. I would say that the patients that I see, that wouldn't be a problem. But if it was anywhere else, like intestinal tract or somewhere else, then I'd be super worried. What happens more often with me and my patients is that I look at them and I find weird stuff that's not in their heart, but elsewhere. I'm like, you know that you've got a tumor, or you know that you've got a cyst, you know you've got this and that. We all have something going on with our body. The best medical school textbook that I've ever read started with a statement that there's no such thing as a healthy person. There's just people that we haven't really investigated in detail. All of us have something funky going on. So that's what I kind of do or did before I ended up here. But before that, I did something else. Before that, I worked first to become a conservator restaurer, which is basically, if I say it honestly, a really good person of doing forgeries, but doing them for museums. So rather than doing them for selling and something that isn't what it is, I did them for museums. So that's my real training. That's my real first career that I had. And I ended up working a lot with, not just with paintings, but with organic material, things like pottery, that's historical, archaeological. I specialized on leather footwear from Roman era, and so on and so on. So I ended up finding myself a lot of the time at the excavation sites. And while I was at those excavation sites, I got increasingly more and more given objects that were still attached to bodies, mummified bodies or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's kind of creepy. And then I was like, I probably should know something about human bodies since I'm working with this. So I went back to school and I was like, okay, let's learn about anatomy. I was like, they're all dead, so I don't care about the physiology part, but I should know at least about the body. And then I ended up working solely with human bodies. So I did a lot of work in UK relating to forensic field. So we don't have fancy, like you guys have CSI teams that investigate things. British police largely buys those services from universities. They're like, oh, you're experts about dead human bodies, so we'll just involve you into investigations of crimes. And most often they were like, is this an old body, which means that they're so old that it's just, let's send it to a museum and say that you worry about it. Or is it a new, which means that there's been a crime and we need to figure out who did what. So that's my gig, what I did. Pretty soon I also realized, since I was working a lot with mummified bodies, you can't really take a mummy and unwrap it and have a peek inside and then wrap it again, because it's not going to be the same thing anymore. So I was like, okay, I need to find out a way to see inside these mummies. And that's how I ended up doing medical imaging. And I've been on that path ever since. So I started doing CT scanning, MRI scanning, and so on, and went back to school again and learned about that. And while I was back at school doing that, I ended up doing medical research, anything from lab work to doing medicine, and then figuring out where you can do medicine in a way that you advance what we're doing. So that's kind of why I'm qualified to do this, I guess. I've been through med school, but I don't practice medicine here in America. I can still write prescriptions though, but let's not do that. So then I came to America and I was like, okay, what do I do? I think at that point, you remember the first big I showed you about the heart and how there's little pieces that are dead and finding out if it's going to get worse or better. At that point, I was like, okay, can I find a job with this same skill set here? But I think there were 3 people in North America that were doing the same job as I was. And I went like to each one of their workplace and I was like, hey, want to work together? And they were like, not really. And then I was like looking, no, none of you is old enough that you're going to die so I can get your job. So I was like, crap, I better find a new job. So I went to medical imaging school to teach sonography, so ultrasound techs. And if you're interested about medical imaging, we have a good radiology program here at CAC. Every year, a lot of my students go there. It doesn't mean that you have to, but a lot of my students go there. Every year, a lot of my students go also to nursing programs and other allied health fields. It doesn't mean that you cannot be in this class if that's not your career path. I will still find ways to help you. But we're pretty successful in getting our students into those programs. So if that's something you want to do, something you're interested, let me know at some point of this semester so I can kind of align what we talk about. And I can also, if you know that you need to get an A, for example, for prereqs to nursing, let me know. Because then if you're at B and you're almost at A, but still going to get a B, I'll keep kicking you until you get that A. Not physically. I will keep giving you extra assignments. So I'm here to help you to succeed. But anyways, I totally went off topic. So I was teaching ultrasound for quite a few years in Phoenix in a private school. And I was like, oh, crap. Now I found myself on this gig where I'm teaching students, some of who are really good, but some of who probably shouldn't be in that field. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Can I just fail them? And then they were like, oh, they pay 80 grand a year to be here, so don't fail them. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this. So then a friend asked me to cover a couple of classes at CAC. I came, covered, and I realized what a community college is. And I was like, I love this business. I love the idea that we make education available for everyone. And there's a lot of things that are involved here in CAC that involve about that. You might have seen that we have waived our tuition for this semester as well. You all should have received message, and if you haven't, you have $100 to spend at our bookstore.
I just used it.
Good stuff. Someone just told me in the class that they just used it. We had, during when the pandemic first started, needs-based applications for additional funding. That's not in game at the moment, but I'm involved in a lot of stuff like that. So that's what I'm interested. I'm interested of making sure that anyone who wants to be a nurse or a doctor or this or that has a chance to do that, regardless of financial or social background where you come from. Because the European school system is very different. And I've done at this point 2 undergrads, 2 postgrads, and I'm working on my second doctorate. So I did not take a loan for each one of those. I just got grants. So that's what I'm trying to say, that I think education should be available. If you're willing to put in the work, we should find a way to help you.
Yeah, is a grant like just money that's awarded to you in a way for doing this or that? Like,
no, I do a lot of work for that.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of an award thing.
Yeah, I probably use really weird wordings of that. So basically, the best gigs that I've had is that I work full-time job and my employer wants me to acquire a certain skill. Like, okay, we want you to learn about human body, or we want you to learn how to take images of dead bodies with MRI machine. And then they train me while I still work for them. But it's not a really, if you want to be poor up to your 40s, become a researcher. That's not a really lucrative business. But there are more options than most of us realize, and I'm always happy to write references, happy to put you in touch with people I know and so on. Many medical school applications require you to have done some shadowing and so on. So I'll help with what I can. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is that I do a lot of stuff at the CAC, so you'll see me drowning you in messages on Blackboard about announcements, things that we have available for you. Any questions about what I do, how I ended up here, any of that? I really wasn't going to speak that much about me, but I guess it's fair that you know who I am. And that's what the assignment that I have on Blackboard for tomorrow as a due date is, that I just get to know you a little bit more. I don't want you to just learn about me. I want to know you guys, because we're going to be hanging out together for, I believe, 16, 17 weeks. So we might as well get along. So that's the point. So we have classes scheduled on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1:30. I don't know why I put so many zeros. I was doing that like 5 minutes before our class started. So from 1:30 to 4:15. Ignore the extra zeros. It's not by a second when the class starts. I normally try that if you come to the class, I want it to be worth of your time. So if we have nothing to do, I probably will tell you not to come. But if you come, we probably have something that matters. These 2 first weeks are kind of a little weird because I was going to jump and start us doing something along, I'm just going to the front so the others can see, along these lines. So this is how I prefer to teach, that you get a model of a human body and then you build all parts of the human body on it over time. Not every AMP teacher here at the college does that, but that's what I do. So we basically build human body from inside out with clay. It's not an art class, even though I have done arts for a living. I used to do illustrations for medical textbooks to fund, again, my way through things. So I'm not expecting you to do pretty things. I'm just expecting you to learn things. But obviously, since we have some students who are not here in person, we are not going to be doing that immediately. And for that reason, everything has turned upside down. Everyone who is joining us remotely has already done that, but I'm just showing for anyone who's in a classroom and wondering, how do you join us remotely? When you log into Blackboard, you end up on a page, and this is only a small part of that page, the left side of the screen, where there's a lot of things. And one of those things that you see on that menu is Blackboard Collaborate, Join Session. If you click on that, that's where the sessions are going to be, if we're doing something remotely. And normally, if we do something remotely, I try to record it. The reason why I'm saying that, even though I just said that we're not going to be doing this for the whole semester, we're not going to be remote, is that I realize that things happen. And if things happen and you let me know, I will always try to work with you. I probably have broken at this point of the class like 20 different CAC rules, but that's what I do. Okay, so I've given you, if you are physically in a class, the schedule. And if you're joining us remotely, you can find that on that Blackboard course where you're at, there's a folder called Syllabus Schedule. And this schedule really tries to list everything that we're going to do on this course. You'll notice that I haven't gone crazy with the amount of homework or assignments. I typically believe that I don't give you homework. You do the reading that you feel you need to do well in the class. It doesn't mean that, oh, you'll get an A without ever opening a textbook. It might be a good idea to read the textbook before the exam. But I think it's a little silly. I think it's high school level if I say that you have to do these assignments for me, otherwise I will run after you. I have better things to do. You have better things to do. If you need extra practice, I will give you that. But I'm not big on assigned homework. Homework is to read about the chapter that you've been learning about. You'll notice though that there are two. They are because I need to get you to make an attendance, or they are because it's something important. Really what your course grade will be based on is spot tests, lecture tests, and final exam. And then there's those little things. But those are the biggest three things. So I will always provide you all the tools you need to succeed. And we will, before every exam, go through every possible question that might come up in that exam. I won't tell you that these are the questions, but every possible. And then you take the exam. So I'm all about helping you to succeed. You still need to do something, but I'm not here to catch you out. I have other things to do in my life, and you have other things. So I'm just trying to make sure that you learn and you get a good grade. I don't even know what this slide, why did I put it up here? I'm sure I had an idea for it. We're going to find out. Oh, it's because if you look earlier on this slide, there's a, when you land to this page, there's a folder called Syllabus and Schedule. That's where you'll find this document if you're joining us remotely. And it's the same documents that I have just printed for you. So there's two things that I need to highlight about Syllabus and Schedule. Not because I'm like super passionate about them, but because they really are important things. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look through a couple of important things that you should know about the Syllabus and Schedule. I update it regularly. So you'll see at the top, there's a version 1.2 or whatever. Whenever I update it, I upload it to the Blackboard, and I change that, and I normally highlight on yellow what's new, so you'll know. And I would tell you. So even though syllabus is the document that guides everything that we do, it doesn't mean that I will not change it. I try not to change it to make your life miserable. I change it if something happens. Like last couple of years ago, we went from face-to-face class to fully online class. Obviously, I needed to change something, like how your grade is done. So things like that. So a couple of important things that I want you to know about the syllabus is that I ask you to contact me through the Blackboard messaging. You can also email me, but Blackboard messaging is probably the easiest way to make sure that you get hold of me. And this is going to be really hard now that I have two computers. I'm going to try to show it on both computers. If you end up on our course site, And I'm just going to share it also online. You will notice that at the very top there, there's a box or there's a tab called Messages. When you click in there, you can message to me or anyone else in the class. I'm not going to click there now because I've already received some messages. Sometimes they are things that are personal, and I would not rather show them to an entire class. Not personal from me, but someone student else that, oh, I cannot do this or this and that happened. So I just want you to know that that's the best way to get hold of me. If I don't respond to you, and I normally try to respond in a day or two. If it's weekend, I might take 2 days, or I might take weekend off. But I normally try to respond to you. But if you don't hear back from me, it's not because I hate you and I don't like you. It's because there's so much going on. So just resend the same message, and I will. Eventually, the squeaky wheel gets results. So if you keep messaging me, I will definitely get back to you. But that's the best way. You can still send emails and stuff, but I'm just trying to be realistic with you guys so you know how to best get hold of me. And sorry, I'm just clicking multiple screens at the same time. Now, students online should see the PowerPoint that I made, and we have it on the screen. So that was the first thing about the Blackboard that I wanted to share. There's another thing that I wanted to share, and we already talked about, which was the office location, office times. Since I am not on this campus all the time, I will make myself available as you reach out to me. But just let me know and I'll try to help you. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. Everything's jumping around. Another thing that you'll find on the syllabus, I think on the second page, the required materials. There's the textbook and there's the lab book. So those are what we'll be using on this course. And now comes the part where I'm almost thinking, like, should I stop recording? I will not. I will record it, but I have to be very careful how I word things, okay? So if something doesn't make sense, you ask from me. Good? So one of the gigs that I do on the side, just for fun because I get bored, I take classes at Harvard Law. So I'm very law-oriented. What can I say without getting sued? So that's why I'm careful. CAC, and please don't go saying that I told you this, but I will tell you regardless. CAC has a contract with a bookstore, Barnes & Noble. And based on that contract, we have to tell you that you absolutely need this textbook and you will go to bad places if you don't have it, and you will fail everything and this and that. That is true. You do probably want to have a textbook on this course, especially if you're planning a career in health field, like going to nursing or going to somewhere else. It is a really good textbook that we've referred you to. It provides everything in a condensed way, but everything you might ever need. If this is a class that you're just taking for the fun of it, I think the textbook is quite pricey. So would I buy it if this was the only class where I might probably need it? I don't know. We will use the same textbook on BIO202, so that makes sense as well. So basically what I'm trying to say is it's up to you. I will provide you everything you need in a classroom. I provide a lot of handouts once we get to the actual material, but I'm required to tell you that you need the textbook. Does that make sense? I'm really like trying to go around without saying that don't buy the textbook, but no, it is a good textbook to have. I have something else available as well. If you go to Google and you type into the Google OpenStax and Anatomy and Physiology, there is almost exactly the same textbook available for free. It's not the same textbook. That's the textbook that we're probably going to move as time goes on as a college. One of the big things, like I said, I'm involved in many things. Big things that I'm really interested in is that I think that we should make college cheaper. And how I think that we can make it cheaper is if you don't have to pay for a textbook. So this is a textbook that has been developed by a bunch of people with the intention that we're going to make it free for everyone. So you can access the textbook online. You can also download it as a PDF or download it to any screen reader, whatever you can think of. It is there. It's going to be there. And it gets updated. It doesn't exactly match with the textbook that we have at the moment. Like, so page numbers will be all over the place. But if you look at the headings, you'll find what we're about. Any questions about textbooks? I love that the guys here are shaking head no, because I was like, I don't know how I can say this without getting in trouble. If you have questions, ask me. I'll try to answer, and answer without recording my answer if it gets really tough. I feel like we've been here forever and I'm still talking about syllabus, but I'm going to try to pick up the pace. In terms of syllabus, probably the only thing that I'd be interested if I was a student. I was a student for like 20 years at the university. I'm still a student at the university. So what I'd be interested is just like, how do I get an A grade? That's all I care. You'll see, I think this is on the second page as well, this little box where I've listed all of the assignments that you'll do and how many points they are worth. You'll see that it really is the spot tests and lecture tests that carry a lot of points. In total, there's 1,000 points. So first week's discussion activity, which I'm asking you to do for Wednesday, for tomorrow, it would be nice if you do it because it allows me to get to know you. However, if you were, it would be 1% of your total grade. So I'm just like, be smart. That's all I can say. There's other things that I do. They're mainly for attendance. Like I said, when I know that I have to be in another college meeting, you'll be looking at skeletons instead, and you'll do that remotely online. But they carry points, but they're mainly for that attendance reason. Really, the tests are the big. And I don't want you to be freaked out about tests. I will help you and I will get you set up for success with everything you will need to know. It's not like it's a make or break. If you attend the classes, if you pay attention, if you try, I have never failed a student who has not stopped attending or stopped submitting homework. As long as you try, I will try with you. Fair? Yeah. I do put always in every document I do, terms and conditions apply. Like I said, I still take law school classes, so I'm always like, I can change things around. It's not because I want to change things around and I want to make your life miserable, but if things change a lot, like the modality, how we deliver this course, then I might need to do changes. So there's always terms and conditions. How many of you actually read through them? Like when you go to a music store and there's like online. No one, we all just click. Like we wouldn't know if we've signed our organs away and stuff. At least I wouldn't. Any questions about anything we've covered so far? This is not like how my normal classes are. I really don't like speaking this long, so I'm like struggling now. But there is something that's really, really important that I do need to speak to you about the syllabus, and it's on the very last page, statement regarding special needs, information for students with disabilities. So one of the things that I'm really interested, just from a research point of view, is that not only how we make it available for everyone, how we also treat everyone so that everyone has a chance to succeed equally well. And disabilities come in many shapes and forms. For the longest of time, probably until I approached my 30s, I had already finished multiple degrees. I didn't realize that I had dyslexia. And then I was like, oh crap, now I understand why I did poorly in English classes and this and that. Because letters just changed places for me. The same with numbers. You should not let me do your taxes. Like I just changed them around. So what I'm trying to do with that example is to share with you that disabilities can be things that you don't think they are. So it doesn't have to be a physical thing. But if there's anything that you think that might affect your performance on this class like that, if you have had a plan during high school, we will help you. And we have a person to do that, a whole department at the CAC. I wonder why everything is looking so different on the screen. Oh, The department that helps you is, I'm trying to think of, they changed the abbreviation, Student Accessibility Services. That's the name of the department, formerly Disability Services. And the name of the person you want to get hold of is Cheryl Hernandez. It's on your syllabus, her name and her email address, phone number. Someone else might pick up the phone. I think she finally got some assistance to help her, but she will help you with documentation that we need so you can be given some breaks. For example, a lot of students of mine, and this is not a guarantee, but who have an accommodation plan, they take double time for exams. Do you know if you were really constantly always nervous about taking exams? Exam anxiety is a real thing. And I have had many students who have struggled with that, and we can work with you. And having said all that, now it gets again to the field where I have to be careful what I can legally say, but I'm still going to go there because why not? I realize that we live weird time with the global pandemic going on. And you never have to share anything directly with me, but if you work with Cheryl, she will just let me know what are the recommendations. You don't have to come and tell me what's going on. I have had in probably every semester that I've taught classes since the pandemic started, at least one student whose family member has died that semester because of pandemic. So I realize that things happen, and I realize things will change. I also realize that some people might feel more comfortable, some people might not feel that comfortable. One thing that I do with my students is that I always will tell you how it is. And I will do it here now as well. Not because I really want it. We're all grown-ups, and I believe that if we discuss something, it can stay in this classroom. Not because I really want to share it, but I think it's because I think it's fair. So before the pandemic started, I went through chemo. I'm still growing my hair back, so I do not want to get COVID. And similarly, I realized that there's things that might be happening in your life that you don't want to share. So if you ever feel unsafe, feel that it's not good to be here, let me know and I'll see what I can do. I can offer a lot of assignments virtually. Questions about accommodations, COVID, anything like that? No. This is where it gets, again, kind of tricky. What can I say? I used to teach classes about what it is to get a child. Like it was the weirdest gig ever. I was like, how would I know? But I taught classes about it. In the past, do you know what Title IX is? Let's go there. Title IX is a regulation that protects that you cannot be discriminated because of your sex, for example. It also protects you from sexual violence and so on. Well, what if you're a woman and you're pregnant? It is sex-related. Only females can carry that baby. Males cannot. So that used to protect as well that we cannot discriminate you. So we cannot expect you to do things when you're pregnant that you cannot do. That's no longer under Title IX. That's actually within accommodations. So this is where it gets careful for me to word my things. Pregnancy is not a disability, but high-risk pregnancy is. So if you feel something applies to you, again, speak to Cheryl Hernandez, and she'll be able to help you. There used to be a lot of discussion. How about if you're a mother and you have to take care of the child? Is that putting you in a disadvantage? I would say that we'll try to work with you again. Any questions about any of that? Because I don't want to say anything more that gets me into trouble. And this is where we will take a quick break. That's everything I have to say about the syllabus, about the schedule, all that. One thing that I will do when we come back from the break, I will show you what's the assignment that's due tomorrow, the introductory post on Blackboard. I'll just show you what it is about. And then we'll talk a little bit about lab safety. But I think it would be good, at least I need 5 minutes because I've been talking. This is not what I like doing. I like doing. And I'm sure you're just as bored listening as I'm bored of talking. So let's take a 5 to 10 minute break. we will continue in this class. And if you're remotely, this is a good chance to take care of whatever you need to take care of. And we'll continue in just a bit. Any questions? No? Let's take a break. It's also because I need to put my laptop to charge and I don't know where I find the socket. What is that sound? Like, I'm not from this campus and I'm just finding it so creepy. There's like a lot of weird stuff going on. Have you taken classes on this campus before? Yeah. Have you taken classes with Devin Fraley? He's my boss. Anyway, so you can complain to him. It's a really awesome campus. I used to teach at Araviva, which is where the Biosphere 2 is. So like about an hour away, that's where I drive to come here. So that's why I'm just not going to come if we don't have anything real to do. But it's an awesome campus. I'm super excited. Is there anyone who's not able to log into Blackboard? This is why I love teaching 200 classes, because students have already figured out everything. Now, like normally in every class that I teach, that's the biggest problem. And just a quick thank you for anyone online who posted their name, so you get the attendance too. I was trying to get both of the projectors working. Now I think that's one who's going to come on. I can't believe that I can operate MRI scanners and make them do things, but I can't operate copy machines and projectors. Like, I tell you to be a teacher, those are two things you need. We'll see what happens. No, I have gotten training how to be a teacher, honestly. I'm not just winging this. The only reason why I don't turn off the lights is that I get sleepy and then I want to sleep. But that's not happening. Okay, we're just going to go back to the one that worked. I'm not going to mess with things. If something works, just stick with it. Sorry. Now, every school has a different setup. That's the hard part. As soon as I get the screens to work here at the classroom, we'll carry on. Just anyone who's online, they're like, what are they going on about? Do you have any questions? I honestly feel like I do this every 6 months and I forget what I'm supposed to tell you. So I'm not sure if I've been really fragmented. No, everything makes sense. Yeah.
I met you last semester, so it's just.
Yeah, I do know you. Excellent. Glad to have you. Yeah, so you kind of know how I do things. I do less assignments than I do online and face-to-face. You're probably like, can he stop doing all these assignments?
If we're supposed to be out of town for a week, is there a way we can do online?
Absolutely, I will work with you. Just speak to me, preferably ahead of that, and I will totally set you up.
Perfect. And then if we're not having class in posting, will you post that in Blackboard like a couple days in advance or like that day?
I'll have to, because this is supposed to, like, normally I would be just like, oh, I'll just put it on Blackboard. I'll have to think a little bit so I don't freak out my bosses. Let's talk about that. But I'll do something, and I'll give you plenty of time to do it. So if you're gone, please just let me know. I'll always work with you. Okay, this is the third button I can push, so we'll see what happens now. Yeah, I think that projector is broken. Now I know why it's not being used. Anyone who is taking or needs to take microbiology 205 together, yeah, that's like the toughest class. But you just remember, C's get degrees. Like, that's all you need. You'll be fine. And we have amazing faculty here at CAC teaching that. But like, I used to teach that, and I was just like, I'm white after teaching it. So now I'm just like trying not to get involved in it. It's a really, really good course. Okay. And we're back where we started. That's how it goes. Okay. Everyone good if we start? Like I said, I try not to keep you hanging out. And this first session is a little different. But there's something I want to show you before we start talking about the lab safety. And I promise I keep the lab safety part short. And sorry, I'm kind of doing two screens at this time. So this is the view that I expect that you would see when you log into Blackboard to this course, provided that this works. So you would see something like this, right? And all of the syllabus and schedule, like I told you, are on the folder that's labeled for it. But all of the learning material is underneath the learning modules there. Sometimes I'm a little useless of releasing stuff, but I always try to release stuff ahead of the time. For example, if you go out of the town for things and stuff. Normally, everything that we will do is within a folder that's labeled with a week number. Usually it's that week, but then the second week is like we take a spot test about it, or we do something just so that we know that we learned about it. The exception is the first week, which is kind of weird. And for the first week, like I said, I tried to come up with activities so you can get attendance even if you miss one of the classes. And the activity that I'm asking you to do is the introductory post. That's due tomorrow at midnight. I would prefer that you try to do it, but if you miss it, just message me and we'll figure it out. But basically what it is, I have a little question there. It's a discussion forum online. You answer, and it helps me to know if no one wants to go to nursing from this class, then I'm not going to bore you with all of my nursing stories. If everyone wants to go to nursing, then I'll tell more of those. No, then I'll try to come up with examples that relate to that. So I'm just asking you your name or preferred name. What are your goals? Your goal might be just to stay afloat, just to pass the class. But if you need that A and you let me know, that helps me, that I know how much do we need to work. If you have any particular interests, and I left it vague for the reason that it can be anything related to the career, related to this topic, or it can be something else. I'm just interested in raising cats. That's what I used to do for extra money, paid better than my real job. Yeah, so I used to breed cats. So show cats until I realized that my cats were really good genetically, but they didn't like people. That's not a great thing. So when you take them to the cat shows, they were like, shh. And I was like, okay, well, I guess that I'll just be by myself with all these cats. I don't do it anymore. And then I've asked that you can navigate Blackboard. I don't know. That's just what I thought of when I wrote it. Obviously, if you're there and you're posting, you know how to use Blackboard. If you don't, then I'll probably chase after you. So if you can make a post there, you get those points and we'll get you your attendance. That'd be great. I would appreciate it. I think I was supposed to post an example there, but I don't think I did. Oh, I did. And then I also asked you to do something else. Well, I asked you to find a story on that relates to something that you're interested, or just a random story about human biology, post a link to that or share short summary what it is and why it interested you. And I think I even did an example. I did so many classes that I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I think I posted about it. Like every few years, there's a new organ from the body that they find. And I think it's super fun. Because my real training, like I said, is all to do with anatomy. And you would think that in the past 300-400 years that we've been studying human body, we would have found everything. We don't. There's like every few years something new that they find in the body.
I figure in this day and age, you have been near everything, if not anything. I mean, they're seeing in the body without opening it up.
Yeah, no, but I agree. That's why I picked anatomy as my major. I was like, it's easy, you just learn it and then you can do it for the rest of your life. Turns out, no, anatomy textbooks get updated all the time. The big stuff is consistent, but there's little details. They mainly it's reclassification of things. It's not so much that they found a whole new part. It's just like, oh, this part actually does this, or this part is not actually a gland, it's this and that. But I think it's one of the reasons why I like doing science, that the things change around, because I get bored easily. So that's what I was supposed to ask you to do, and I see so many of you have already done that. I think I asked you also to respond to your peer and stuff. So if you've done it, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't done it yet, please try to do it. I know it's not a lot of points, but it just secures if something happens on Thursday and you can't attend, then you're still covered and you get attendance. Sorry, I'm trying to change screens here. It's not, I have to figure out a better way to do this if we do it any longer than 2 weeks, because this is a lot. I think that we're not going to be doing this longer than 2 weeks. This is just a lot. So 2 things that I need to say about lab safety. Have you all been in a science lab before? Yeah, you roughly know.
Oh, sorry. For the most part, don't act like a fool.
Exactly, that's it. That's why I'm like, how much do I really need to tell you? Because you know if something's dumb. So what I did, in class, for any of you joining online, I handed out this lab safety sheet. I think I wrote it. I don't remember. Maybe I stole it from someone. But it lists all the things you should do and shouldn't do in a lab. It really is, like you said, about just not acting a fool, being smart with what you do. Human A&P is a little easier than microbiology. With micro, you can grow bacteria that can kill you. In human A&P, most of this stuff will not kill you. But we still don't want to do stupid stuff. So I'm going to go through this a little quicker. I'm going to skip over a couple of parts, but I think I do need to say something about how to be safe. And what you saw there on the bottom of the screen about next session, that was wrong next session. I stole that slide from another class, so it was just left there. But there's a lot of people who work in labs throughout US and throughout the entire world. And there's many, many things you can do that can get you hurt. If you took my class before, this might be the exact same slides. I'm just sorry. It's like super boring. I keep using the same stuff. You can do pretty much all of the things that I've listed there on that screen, with the exception of getting damaged because of radioactivity in my class. Like pretty much everything else we can do. We don't really deal too much with radioactivity. But it's really all about being careful with what you do and being smart with what you do, and you'll be good. I always tell a little bit about radioactivity, just to add some substance when we talk about lab safety. Do you know who radium girls are? You do know, but does anyone else know? There's a movie about it, I think they did. So I spent a big portion of my life in UK, and they're still obsessed about Victorian era, like Ooh, everything was better then. So during Victorian era, all of these inventions came, mass production of stuff came, and also all that sort of stuff. So they're like, that was the greatest era ever. During that era, a lot of inventions were made, and we didn't know necessary consequences of those inventions. And one of them was using radioactive paints on clocks, watches, things like that, so that they would shine in the dark. Good idea, awesome stuff. Oh, warning, if you're easily shocked, there's going to be gruesome picture. Sorry, I was a little late for this side. So they used radioactive paints without knowing any risks of those. So one thing that people who paint porcelain or other things do a lot of the time, you tip the fine brush to your mouth, and it's really sharp. And they didn't know that the paints were radioactive, or they knew that, but they didn't know what consequences it could cause. And it caused tumors and all sorts of that stuff, and that wasn't great. One thing that others will learn that I'm interested is medical history. So there's a lot of cases that we've gone through about those, and there's a lot to be learned. So I've done this thing, dealing with museum objects, dealing with dead bodies, all that, embalming bodies, doing human bodies into anatomical sculptures. I think you've seen, there's things like that you can do for forever. And one thing that has never happened to me is that someone would have came and said that, oh, we thought that was poisonous. Just kidding, it wasn't. It goes always the other way around, that they think that something's safe and then turns out that it's not. So we're going to play it safe in this class. There's a lot of regulations that regulate what we can do, how we need to keep you safe. And it's really about your right to be safe, but also I want to be safe. And like I said, I got sick earlier, so I'm kind of a little bit more careful nowadays. I think I'm supposed to make you sign a document. It's not this one. It's another one that I didn't print, that you're going to be good and safe in the classroom. We can do that if you really feel that you really, really, really want to do that. But I'm just going to assume that you made it alive this far in life. So natural selection and all that. But don't do stupid stuff. Sorry? That's true. Well, I drive a lot on 10, and when I see someone going real fast, I'm just natural selection. When the snowbirds come to Arizona, I'm just like, oh, finally, I'm not the worst driver. Anyways, I learned to drive onto a different side of the road. So it gets hard late at night when I'm alone on the street. And then I see a car approaching, and I'm like, I need to pick a side. It's 50-50 chances. I don't know. But anyways, whether this is online, whether this is in person, you need to know by the time you're finished with this course that you can go and work somewhere where they assume that you know about how to be safe in a class and how to be safe in a lab. That's why we need to talk about it a little bit. Probably the biggest problem that I run into, and since my boss is based on this campus, I'm gonna have to up my game and be a little bit more careful. Biggest problem that students have, they try to come into the class wearing flip-flops, and they get told you can't. This is a lab. Even though our classes are here, this is a lab space. So try not to wear flip-flops. You can be turned away from the class for that. I probably will not actively seek it. I'll probably try to look another way, but if my boss is standing behind me, I will definitely have to do that. Because if we break these rules, the lab can be closed, and not closed by CAC. External bodies can come and close it. What my students do, what my nursing students do, and so on, they have a pair of shoes in a car, like sneakers or something. In case they forget, they can change it when they come to the class. So just don't come with shoes that are open-toed. Like you need to have your toes covered, because we will be using dissecting knives, things like that. I just don't want you to get injured. And we will wear personal protection equipment when necessary. So that shoes are the big thing. We want to protect you. We want you to be safe. I don't know. I think I had a story about flip-flops and how many flip-flops there are in the world, but I don't remember. Really, the second biggest one is that you shouldn't be eating or drinking in the class. because we have all sorts of stuff out. I used to show a picture of dissection that we normally do on these tables, and students had their snacks on the table, and then they were like, oh, I'll collect my snacks. I don't do it anymore because I'm lazy. But we do all sorts of weird stuff on these desks, so do not put food there. I realize we're in Arizona. I'm obviously not from Arizona, so I'm like all the time like, I'm dying because this is a lot. I realize that it gets hot here and you might need to drink, so try to keep a closed container, and maybe if you need to drink, make sure that you don't have anything on your hands, and so on. So just stay safe. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I have a bunch of pictures and a bunch of slides about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, but most of those I really don't think apply to us that much, or when they start applying, I'll talk about them. We probably will get a chance to do some stuff that involves using some dissection things. If you feel uncomfortable with anything, I'll never make you do it. But most of the things that we do, they have embalming liquids, and those could be poisonous if you get it into your eyes, or eat that, or lick things. I don't know. There's a lot of things you shouldn't do. Just be smart. I had someone asking me, what happens if I lick paint that has lead in it? I was like, why would you even ask that? That's just weird. There's all sorts of people. Probably the biggest one is that you can cut yourself if there's broken glass. So we're going to try to avoid that as well. And if you get hurt, let me know. We'll take care of you. Honestly, if you ever need to take a call, feel free. I'm not upset about things like that. I'm trying to think, what else should I do or tell you about to be safe? I don't think there's anything that I can think of. I was just clicking on the class screen through multiple slides, but just be smart. Any questions about how to be safe in a lab? Any questions about anything else? Is there someone who's super grossed out by dissections? Is there someone who's super excited by dissections? Okay, I'll just try to make sure. So I'll always, if you don't feel comfortable doing something, let me know. Like I said, we normally use a lot of clay in this class, but that shouldn't be poisonous. I can't think of anything bad that would happen here. So I guess that this brings us to the end of the second part of this session. And the final part that I have has to do with that reviewing the key concepts and all that. Do you need a break, or shall we just finish it off and wrap it up for today? I'm sorry, like online students, I do care about you, but I just can't see what you say. Yeah, I hear like, let's finish it and wrap up the day. So we're going to do that. If you need a break, just run away and come back. Don't get hurt. I don't know. This is a hot mess. Exactly. I'm just like, I don't want to be sued. That's all I care. So I'm going to change screens again. I was trying to set it up so that we could do everything on one computer, but obviously that didn't happen. I'm just going to need a second. I'm going to change something. So the version you see is different from mine because I have like heaps of stuff that's hidden and not visible for you, because I was like, let's have a face-to-face course, but No, that looks better. So let's just talk about what the last part of this class, like what we really should be doing this semester or this week, other than just going through the basic safety stuff and so on. What I've scheduled on our schedule, which I've lost here, is that this week we'll just remind ourselves of the basic stuff that you learned in previous courses, so you're going to be successful for this course. And I was initially going to present all this material to you in a class, like teach you again, like a crash course to BIO201. But now that some of you are online, some of you are in person, I think it's going to be weird if I just do it when it's already been done. So I have recorded videos about everything that's like very, very basic that you should know from previous classes, such as that all life is made of chemical components. You know that. That's why you have to learn like about chemistry a little bit. How then atoms make up molecules, and then we have macromolecules, and things are made of molecules. How cells are the smallest structural and functional unit of life. All that good stuff that you've learned about. How if you have a bunch of cells, they make up tissues. And then we have different kinds of tissue types, and it's at that level that this course will start. So we'll talk about tissues, cells and tissues, and bigger stuff. I'm a big believer, if I can't see it with a naked eye, I'm not really interested. Not a good attitude in life, I tell you. You will need to be interested, especially if you go to medicine and do microbiology class and stuff. But we'll work a lot with things that are quite obvious. So what I'd ask you to do, if you feel really uncomfortable about any of those topics that I just mentioned, watch that video. If you feel like I've got this, I'm good, you don't need to watch that video. There is no test about these chapters. I think in your textbook it's the chapters 2, 3, and 4. I will not test you on those chapters at all, because it's stuff that you've learned before. What I have for, and I think it's due next week, January 26th, I have a quiz about the topics that were covered in those videos and topics that were covered in previous classes. It would help me if you take that quiz. As long as you take it, regardless of what score you score on that quiz, you will get full points for it. All I care is that you try it. It would be a nice idea if you like try more than just click, 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 but don't lose your sleep over it. It is a little tough. It's kind of a tougher version of testing what you remember from the past. So I'm not expecting to get 100% for it. It's not because I want to start this semester like, oh, let's break them down. No, it's not for that. It's a quiz that we used to use to test if you wanted to skip BIO201. If you could get 100% on that, then you could skip it. We don't do that anymore, so you can't sell it to anyone. It's not worth it. There's no extra points to be made. But as long as you try it, and you don't have to try it this week, you can take this week to go through those topics, like what we need to know about, and you submit it by January 26th, then you get the attendance for next Tuesday when we don't have a class. Because next Tuesday, I think I'm at the Signal Peak meeting with the president of the college about something. So I just will not be here. So that's why this schedule is really easy, useful for you. I will make an announcement about that as well. I will send you a message about it. But next Tuesday, I'm not going to be here, and I would not expect you to be here. But instead of just getting no attendance for that, if you do that quiz, that covers that day. And you don't need to score 100%. So that's all I had planned. And now that I'm thinking, what are we doing for this week? I think on Thursday, I will go through the topics covered on those, like provide a crash course. But I'm going to be here and do that. But if you want to join, you can join also remotely. If you feel that you've got it all, you don't need to be reminded of all of that. Just log in and post your name to the chat and you're good. If you want to come to the class, I will be here and I will go through all of those things. So this week's material is not being tested in the exam, so there's nothing to worry about that, but it will help you to succeed with the rest of the semester. Any questions? That's all I had planned for today. Before we wrap it up for today, I'm going to ask from both from the class, do you have anything, any questions, anything that you're curious, anything you're worried, anything that you're feeling super happy? This is not how most of the classes will be. I don't want to speak this much. Anything online? If you have any questions, do not hesitate to post those on the chat or just unmute yourself or speak up or anything. No? If you were attending online and didn't get a chance to post your name to the chat, please do so I can give you an attendance for today. If you were in a class, I think you all signed up on that sheet. I will take the attendance from there. I don't want to keep you any longer because I really have nothing else to share today. If you want to hang out and be here, absolutely, I won't kick you out, but that's all I had planned for today. Sounds good? Yeah. Okay, so that's it for today. I will be here on Thursday to talk about all of those things. But if you feel that you're going to get that out of online, listening me online, you're good. If you don't have time to join, just post your name to the chat and watch those videos. That's it. Thank you for being part of this class. I know it's super weird times that we're living. I'm like still trying to navigate with this pandemic, how life goes. So thank you everyone for joining. That's it for today. Thank you everyone who joined us also online. If you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself or shout out or post it to the chat. But if not, we're wrapping up in this classroom for today, and I'll see you on Thursday. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day. It feels really weird like doing two groups at the same time. I should know how to do this better. That's it. Yeah, I just feel like students are always, can I leave? You can. You can. Thank you. And like I said, I record these sessions.